As a self-employed CEO, you have to know the 4 stages of training. Why? Well, first apply it to yourself. You know the 4 stages of training. It makes it very easy for you to overcome pretty much anything and get to whatever you want instead of being blocked or having self-limiting doubts and fears. So understanding the 4 stages of training it starts with you. Number two, this is how you have to be aware to train your staff. And you can't just tell somebody to do something and then expect them to be excellent at it. It seems like that's what chiropractors do. They expect to just talk to their staff member once about something, and they expect them to be like super employees, with that one talk. It's just totally unrealistic. So the 4 stages of training, and then especially if you hire associate doctors, you've got to know the 4 stages of training. In other words, we're going to take you through these. I teach them the 4 stages of training before I cover anything that we're going to learn. You always want to do that. It makes the process of going through the learning process easier, faster, quicker, and better. Okay, these are the stages we're going to go through to learn this topic, whatever it is, how to answer the phone, how to get a new patient, whatever it is. Okay. So it applies to self-training, staff training, associate doctor training. So these are the 4 stages. So we're going to go from unconscious incompetence. Now remember, that's the worst stage to be in. You get like no results, low to no results, whatever the category is. The reason it's the worst place to be in is because you don't even know you need help. And then how do you get from that to what's called conscious incompetence? Well, that's when there's an awareness without skill. That's where there's low to no results. That's the lowest form that you want to be at, or a staff member be at. And it's when you just know about something, but you can't really do it and can't do it very well at all. And then there's what's called conscious competence. That's the next stage. That's when you'll get some results. You're kind of clumsy, you're thinking about it, but you get some results. And then what's called unconscious competence. You don't even think about it and you're doing it. See, that's where you want to be with everything, whether it's new patients, answering the phone, scheduling appointments, collecting money, getting a referral. This is where you want to be. This is the whole goal, is to get to unconscious incompetence to unconscious competence. So this is the method to do it. And these are some of the issues you're going to be dealt with. So how to get from one stage to the next. So you go from unconscious incompetence to conscious competence. In other words, being aware of something, but not having the ability to do it. Books, seminars, tapes, videos, office manual. Employees come in, first thing we'll do, I'm not going to waste all my time right in the very beginning when they don't know much at all. I'm going to let other third-party sources time. So it'll either be an office manual, it'll be a seminar, a webinar, tapes, videos. I'm not going to right out of the box going how to answer the phone. I'm going to go, here's the manual on how to answer the phone, and here's the video. You watch it with you first. Okay. So book, seminars, tapes. That's what gets it to an awareness stage. Now, can you stop there? No. We have no skill level, low productivity. Okay, we need to get from conscious incompetence to conscious competence. In other words, you can do it. Now, and you have to be highly aware, this is the most difficult thing to do. This is the most difficult stage to do. And the reason is that it naturally challenges your second highest need in life, which is security. This is why so many of us as society, we will have absolute total motivation to do whatever we need to do to get out of survival and insecurity. You don't have to take a motivation seminar. And then because we have natural motivation for that, to have security and familiarity. That's the second highest need in life. Well, that's the good news, but unfortunately now that becomes the bad news, because the very natural drives that will help you to create security now will be your limiting factor because it doesn't want you to challenge anything new. And so it wants you to stay in a state of homeostasis. And this is typically why most people don't achieve nowhere near what they want to or could. It's challenging their security and they don't know how to overcome it. Or the natural forces overcome it and they're not aware of it. So major steps to overcome challenging security, learning a new skill. So what are some things that we have to do when we're training either myself or, let's say in this case, a staff member? Okay, so we're going to take a staff member from, let's say we just hired them. We're going to take them from unconscious incompetence to conscious competence. Okay. In other words, now they're just aware of it. Does that mean they're good? They know how to, they can do it and get result? No. Okay. So typically that's when I'll have them read the manual, watch the webinar, watch the videos. That shifts their awareness. Next, I want to get them to conscious competence, but I know I'm going to have the most resistance. And I teach my staff, this is where you're going to be most resistant because you're challenging your security. You're challenging the unfamiliarity is what challenges your security. And it's the second highest need in life. And I say it all the time. It is way under, I wouldn't say underperceived. It's way underestimated. The power of limiting an individual because of their high sense of security. It's way underestimated. It's a major force to be reckoned with. It limits the hell out of masses of people. So how are we going to go about it? Number one, no negative feedback. Whatever we're going to say. So let's say I'm teaching a staff member how to answer the phone. So what am I going to do first? Watch the video, read the manual. That's the first. Unconscious incompetence, conscious incompetence. Now I'm going to take the staff member how to answer the phone from conscious incompetence to conscious competence. In other words, they can do it. Okay. What am I going to do? No negative feedback. In other words, I'm not going to put them in a live situation. We're going to break it down. So whatever needs to be said answering the phone, I'm going to break it down into very, very, very small steps. And I'm only going to cover one step. And if that step is still perceived to be too big, you didn't break it down enough. In other words, it keeps getting broke down and there's no feedback where the person can actually take the first step. That's how it's done. And as a CEO, you need to recognize this. Somebody can't do something, you need to break those steps down and remove the negative feedback. And if they still can't, you better break it down further. They still can't, you better break it down further. And now comes repetition. Now we have to do muscle and sensory. Now we've got to do muscle and sensory. That's what creates the neural filament of memory, because ultimately we're trying to get it into unconscious competence on how to answer the phone. We got to repeat it now. I got to repeat it a lot. And I got to repeat it in small levels with no negative feedback to where now it's totally comfortable now. Now, once I've done that, I'm going to add the next baby step. Then we're going to do it again. Now, when that gets totally comfortable, I'm going to add the next baby step. Let's say that task was broken into 10 baby steps. How to answer the phone. We're just going to role play one. Role play. Till it's really comfortable. All right, then we're going to add in two. Second, this is how we keep adding it in. Role play. Baby steps, no negative feedback. It's not live. No fear of rejection. All right, now we have to pay attention to motivation. Carrot is pulls, pain pushes. What do we know about that? 20% or less is actually the carrot, the pleasure. It's the weakest motivation there is. 80% of motivation is the pain to get out of survival and security. That's where all the drive is. So we do want a little bit of a carrot, but 80% of it is this. And now with employees, what's the carrot and what's the What's the pain? Well, the obvious pain is losing their job. And then the carrot could be keeping the job, or you could actually give them a bonus when they learn that task, right? That could be a carrot. But if that was only it, there was no risk of losing their job, you're not going to get very far, trained, because that's a very weak motivation. Chances are you won't even get the person trained. They won't even have the motivation to get there because they don't have to. Okay, that's the difference between the pleasure in playing, the carrot or the pain, or the stick, the carrot or the stick. And then you repeat it, and we just do the next baby step. All right, now we do that until that all 10 of those procedures are in a state of conscious competence from role playing. Now what do we do? Now we put them live. Now we put it live. Now it's monitored. So now it is in the state of conscious competence. That's how we got it there. Now we put it live. In other words, now there's potential negative feedback. And now it's monitored. So now we monitor when it's in the state of conscious competence. So here we go. How do you go from conscious competence to unconscious competence? It's monitored repetition. Monitored repetition. So now we'll put it live, we'll monitor it, do it again then, and then as we monitor it, we'll give feedback. This went good, this went bad, this went good. And you've heard, I mean, even with phones, a lot of times you call somewhere and they'll say, this phone's being monitored for certain, quality purposes. Well, one of the reasons they're measuring it is to train the staff. That's one of the reasons they're recording it. So monitored repetition, whether it's me training myself, whether it's me training a staff member, or me training an associate doctor. That's what I'm going to do. Now I'm just going to monitor it. We're going to feedback. Now it's live. So we'll monitor it. We're going to feedback. Monitor it, going to feedback. Until they get to unconscious competence. Now it's muscle memory. It's highly effective. You get good results. Okay. Now, does that mean we totally leave it alone now? No. What's the last phase in the process? You've got to monitor the statistics. Now, I don't have to be there. Now I'm just going to look at the statistics of that particular job, whatever, that function, that job, whatever it is we're trying to get done. Now we're just going to quantify it. I just need the statistics now. Let me just look at the statistics. Are they great? Person's doing well, they get a bonus. Are they average? Are they below average? Or did they dip back? Do they now need more training? Say, or you go, you tried to train, and they just can't get it. Well, you only have two options. Move them to another position if you have one available that they might be able to succeed in, or you got to let them go. And most of the time, you got to let them go because you picked the wrong person to begin with. That's the number one problem. You picked the wrong personality and you tried to match it with the wrong job responsibility that they naturally didn't have the ability to do. And then the second reason it typically doesn't work out is the doctor did not know the 4 stages of training. So when you hire the wrong person, don't know the 4 stages of work training, you got low productivity, chaos, frustration. The doctor's frustrated and the staff member's frustrated. And usually neither one of them know why. And then they just blame each other. He's bad, she's bad, it doesn't work out. And then that cycle repeats itself. And now you don't have much of a business and you got a lot of stress. And that's how a lot of people are with employees. They don't know how to hire, train, and manage employees. And that's why.